Yeah. Death by Tyranny podcast. I didn't know this. So apparently the old way, not that it's like any you know thing exciting for you guys, but I didn't know that I could go live to Facebook and YouTube from the phone. So that's news to me. I wish I would have known that earlier because we had a pretty interesting podcast earlier today on the Facebook, and it seemed to be fairly well received. And so one of the things that I have to do while we're doing it the old school way is see, what's the best time to go live on Facebook or YouTube or whatever it might be. Because I realized today that there was 355 people on my Facebook. So if one third of those people went over to the YouTube and liked or subscribed over there, not only would it allow me to keep the name Death by Tyranny, because for whatever reason, you're not even eligible to keep your YouTube channel name until you have 100 subscribers. And if we could do that as well, I think it's 100 likes on the live, the YouTube algorithm starts to share that a little bit more. So that would just help kind of the podcast get more out there. And because one of the things we're trying to do is make sure that the average people that would just be stumbling across YouTube or on my Facebook or wherever it may be are aware of some of the things that are going on. We always get our well, at least nowadays we're getting our information from like memes, and that's not doing us a whole lot of good because we're being too reactive to the situation. So normally you want to be proactive. And so if there's a bill coming up, you're not going to know about this until it passes, and it's too late at that point. What possibly could we have done to um, prevent the doubling of the IRS, or arming and equipping the IRS to go after your everyday American citizen? Could we have done anything? Possibly. I don't know, but it's all too often that we find out about these things way too late, after it's already been passed through Congress, after we're already in the pipeline to deal with the consequences, and that's not a good thing. And sometimes there's things that we could actively participate in that maybe help the situation. I spoke about a while ago that we needed to have some type of civilian kind of a militia, if you will, that we all kind of participated in and were aware of. Instead of kind of this, extremist groups, or some of the more dramatic actors, because that's usually all we see when it comes to militias in the United States. We only see the negative, or some of the more outlandish things that these militias do. And if we were ever to get into a position where we could actively be any kind of real threat to the military or the federal government, well, we're going to need to be a little bit or more well structured than what we are. So we can't really do anything with this Proud Boy, 3%er, among the other hundred, thousand militia groups, whatever, in the United States. We got to get away from that. We got to get a little bit more um, organized. And so one of the things that I've been noticing is uh, there will be a certain influencer that will be outraged about something, and it will kind of trend for a little bit. And we're not really doing anything with that. The all that momentum, all of those eyeballs and ears that are hearing the outrage and what's going on in the government, and we just kind of get upset about it for the moment, and then we move on. Now, if we had a more structured organization that we all were helping fund and participate in, maybe with some leadership there, we could take some of these situations and start to diagnose what's actually happening, what we can do to prevent it, what we can do to maybe undo some of those things. And I don't even know where to begin. Like I said, I think it has to come down to we all just have to uh, pick a a spot, wherever it may be, and all start trending that way. I think that's the probably one of the only ways we can go about it. And the unfortunate thing is you're always going to have other people that are influencers as well, that for whatever reason decide to actively attack whoever's getting the most views or following or subscribers, and they're thinking too small. What they're doing is they're going, we're all in this for fame and to grow a following, and that's not it. That's not really what we need to be focused on. So if we're gonna stop bitching about what's going on in the United States and actually have a plan B when it comes to the civilians actually having a safety net against the federal government going apeshit on us. Unfortunately, that's just where we are. They have already done so. And we've already discussed that they're going to go, one by one. It's not going to be a mass casualty event. It's going to be, freezing the bank accounts. It's going to be silencing people on social media. It's going to be propaganda through the mainstream media. It's going to be, um, done through things like COVID. And so we have to try our best, as much as it's been like embedded in our DNA at this point, to say enough with the following. I think we have a fairly good idea about the people who have the following, plus the actual like resources and knowledge to get something done on a large scale. And instead of finding reasons to pick them apart, why don't we, help as much as we can? Um, I don't know exactly where this kind of thought or idea comes from, so I can't give credit to the original, author, if you will. But they said, the only way to actually stop a bad idea is by a good idea. So instead of trying to pull eyeballs and following away from that one person that actually has the ball rolling, why don't we just help, encourage that person go to the right direction, maybe see what we can add to whatever community they have grown, and once that has really kind of captured enough energy and people, we can start to do something with that. And I think one of the good examples of it is Mike Glover. And it's a good example of everything I just touched on. It has the people that are kind of aggravated and think he's doing what he is doing right at this moment to help build his brand or double down. And I don't necessarily think that's the case. I think it's genuine. If the FBI came out and said that, people who have the Gadsden flag in their front yard are extremists and domestic terrorists, that would piss you off, right? And we know that because it's happening. So I would have to assume that when Mike Glover's businesses and communities that he has built has been kind of added in with the 2A and the Gadsden flag as a symbol and a community that is labeled a domestic terrorist extremist group, that his emotions that he's uh, giving out and showing the world
are probably genuine. And now, will he gain some following from this? Probably. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. That should show you that this guy has some common sense on his shoulders. He is just as aggravated and disappointed in the government as we are. And not only does he have those things going, but he also has the connections with other people. He has connections to people that have the financials to help fund something and put something together. And not only that, he has access to enough people with enough finance and enough influence that I don't think that the federal government could go after all of them without making a huge dramatic scene. So could the federal government go after Mike Glover himself? Yes, absolutely. Or Black Rifle Coffee, sure, whatever. T-Rex Arms, absolutely. But what if all three of those kind of business organizations got together and spoke out about the same thing at the same time? Would the federal government then be able to go in and target all three of them? I just noticed my light's not on. You guys could have said something shit. So, uh, back to touch on the podcast a little bit. They're going to be kind of sporadic. I want to get back to the fundamentals and the being consistent. And to do that, I have to find a time that I'm able to do it every single week. I would like to do at least one of these a week. Now, sure, there's going to be those times where I hop on and I want to rant about something because something just happened. But for the most part, I need enough time in between them to get enough information gathered to when I make the podcast, it's actually informative. And the kind of the goal here is imagine, having a police scanner and listening to that information. Uh, that's good to know, right? Locally what emergencies are happening, or if an event was to unfold, you could kind of prepare before it hits you. And of course, there's going to be people that just don't have the time to listen to the police scanner 24/7. So imagine if instead of listening to the police scanner, there was somebody who did it for you. But not only they listened to the police scanner locally, but they did it nationally. And then when the things that impact the Second Amendment community or the federal government overreaching too much, once a week, instead of you having to take time out of your day to kind of listen to all of those sources, somebody else did it for you and then brought it to you in kind of a hour and a half segment, and you were kind of fastly updated on what's going on. So that's always kind of the goal here. And if I don't have enough time to gather that information myself, I just hop on here and I kind of sound like an asshole. And so I need to find a day of the week or multiple days, at least a couple days in between, maybe like Monday and Friday, or Sunday and Thursday, and then what time is best. Now, for the most part, it's easiest to track who the audience is on Facebook. I obviously can see who jumps on when I'm live, and that's kind of what I want. I want to be able to bring this information to you guys, but not only that, at a time that people are watching it live. I find it more fulfilling to me when I know that as I'm talking, people are watching. And it's really hard to do that. Sometimes I come on here random times of the day and there's 5, 10 people watching. Other times it's zero people watching, like now. So I have to really kind of try to find and dial in what time is best to be on here to talk about these things, or else I'm not doing anybody any service. Of course, they can always watch it on the back end, but what if they have questions? Obviously, once the podcast is done, I'm kind of over it and on to the next one. So if there's a good, relevant question or good idea, or they feel like I'm kind of misrepresenting the event that I'm talking about, we can deal with that in the moment. And so uh, through the next, I probably imagine a week to 2 weeks, I will try to get on here, maybe once in the morning, once at night, once in the evening. Obviously, I can't do that every single day because I work, but between the 2 weeks, I should be able to hit, at least uh, one time on every day of the week to see what kind of works best for everyone. I know the one that I did the other day was about, what was it, 4 or 5 o'clock, and I believe it was right in the middle of the week. So bear with me, if you will. I know, especially kind of with the old new format here, but oddly enough, even being the kind of vertical on your phone format here, I've had a lot more engagement and a lot more people watching. So we might just end up sticking with this for all I know. And so there's that. But yeah, I did not know that I could come on here and do both the Facebook and the YouTube. And it's unfortunate for the past podcasts that are done, but it is a awesome thing. Yeah, awesome. You gotta love the loud, shitty cars that drive past. But it is good for the next couple of podcasts. That way we can kind of grow a little bit. If I would have known that this could happen, maybe the 2 or 3 people that are friends with me on Facebook that happened to catch a podcast that was kind of entertaining or informal to them, they then could have headed over to the YouTube and actually helped the podcast grow by subscribing over there. And like I said, I don't need every single person on the Facebook to go over there. And I don't mind you guys watching it on Facebook. But if you guys get some kind of value out of the information that I bring, or kind of feel the same way that I do, you can help kind of guide the ship as well. Because if I'm coming on here and I'm just talking about this, you know, what I think is going to happen, and the way we need to handle it as citizens, and everybody just thinks I'm fucking nuts, then maybe I need to change my perspective. Maybe I need to widen my view of things, and that could be the case. Uh, I think if you are unable to let people, not change your mind because you have no moral compass, but if they come to you and they have a better idea than yours, and you're not willing to acknowledge that, then you're probably not the smartest, sharpest tool in the shed. Know? So if I'm getting on here and talking about something that seems to be that everybody else kind of feels the same way, then we can kind of go down those rabbit holes. But it's almost at a point where there's so much time, energy, and money into this thing that I really have to start figuring out what's the best time and how to be uh, kind of in a routine, or do it more regularly. Because if I have people out there that really like listening to the podcast, and I don't kind of give them an opportunity to know in advance when I'm going to do it, then I can't expect them to watch it live. I know there are, 2 or 3 people that watch most of the podcasts that I do on here. And so it's kind of unfair to them that I ask people participate, subscribe, and kind of interact while I'm doing these lives if I'm not giving them any kind of warning uh, beforehand. So this isn't really a podcast to podcast. It's more of a I wanted to see if it worked, and a kind of some ways that you guys can help me grow a little bit, if you don't mind. So with that, I think we're going to get off here. And anybody that watches this one and actually has anything they want to include or feel that would help me kind of accomplish the goals that I'm talking about, feel free to leave a comment. I do read all the comments that are posted, even if it's after the podcast is already over. All right. So you guys have fun today. Maybe we'll do one tonight. I don't believe I'll be going into work tonight. So then we'll have an opportunity kind of in prime time, maybe 8 o'clock, when people are kind of settling in and getting ready for bed. And for the third shifters, they're waking up and getting their day started. So maybe that might be a time slot I might test out as around the 8, 9 o'clock time slot, you know. But yeah, I'm going to get off here. I love you guys. Stay safe. Peace out.